something on Facebook.
Find the link on YouTube, copy it, and then put it on Facebook. Or I can.
You can do it. You'll do it faster than I can do it.
Right here.
Let's get down to business.
I can't believe I have to take that thing back.
Maury.
Man.
Maury.
He's confused.
Maury is...
Turn him the other way, Simi, yeah.
What a pug. Wow. That's majestic. Look at that.
Just let him go.
Oh.
He's fine.
This is why pugs are the best.
He is a professional sleeper.
Pug supremacy.
Where's his little black board?
We didn't have time to get it out, so it's on top of that thing.
By the way, Simi, you can see what I'm seeing right here.
For you? Where is it?
You can.
You know what's special, Dad? We already got 2 people watching.
Where is it?
2 people.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they're entertained. Believe me.
Of course I am.
Is this it right here?
Of course.
Yeah, it's in there.
Oh, look, I'm wearing
Copy.
Yeah, I know. He's
pasting it onto your Facebook, like right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that
Chat
thing again. Okay, that isn't working. Okay, you guys are distracting him.
Maury's always distracted. That's like his default.
No, he's always focused.
Maury's hyper focused on his never-ending goal of getting as much sleep as humanly possible.
All right, I'm going to hit this link again.
I say as if he's a human.
All right, I'm on my page now, and I still don't see a chat.
Like on your YouTube page?
Just put it behind his thing.
Is it on your YouTube page or on your Facebook page? Which are you looking at?
I'm looking at the YouTube page.
Okay, well, there should be a stream that you can click on. Refresh if not.
I don't know how to refresh.
Okay, so double tap the home button, then swipe up on the app you want to stop, and then just run it again. That's like a bootleg refresh.
Oh boy.
Best kind of refresh.
Okay, don't move him in. Calvin, you got to check the Maury cam. You can move the chair out. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
We already got someone here. Cliff Wilson says, hi, guys. Hi, Cliff.
Yes, hello, Cliff.
One
you
moment.
picked the wrong day. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the right channel.
It is the right channel.
I'm signed in as me.
That's
that's
just
helpful.
attempting to get into the...
I still cannot find the chat.
Okay, well, does it really matter that much? I can just have the chat blown up over there if you want.
Well, that's where I couldn't see it before. Okay, here's the chat stream now.
All right, guest starring Maury, by the way. Save that while you can.
Well, I see the two of us, but I don't see the chat, so that's not really
Dad,
helpful.
I feel like every time we do this, I explain how to get to the chat. Dad,
how do I get to it?
I'm gonna print something out. I'm gonna laminate it. I'm gonna staple it to the wall somewhere, and you're never gonna be allowed to forget how to access the chat anymore. Mom, take my place.
I have no idea how to do it.
Take my place. I gotta go help Dad.
No, I'm not taking it.
Okay, fine. Maury, take my place.
We're also not moving. It's just 2 still pictures.
It'll look like that for a sec.
All right, yeah. Do the Maury cam.
Yeah. Here we go. There's the
Maury's a little lively. All right, so what do I do here?
Maury.
Oh. There's a live chat.
All right.
Michelle Baker says, so laggy. We just got new...
That's exactly what we don't want to... That's actually fitting. That's going to...
We just got new internet in here.
Yeah, we just got a mesh net or something like that.
We just got one of those newfangled Apple things that's supposed to fix all
so
our
that's
problems.
The last thing I want to see. So, thanks, Michelle.
Can we just blame YouTube? I like that better. I prefer being able to blame YouTube for all my problems.
Boy. I don't know. By the way, where is the mesh net thing in?
It's over here by the saw.
It's right next to the saw.
Oh,
It's as far away from this spot as it can physically
It
be.
wasn't the best place to have it.
Well, where's the best place to have it?
Well, the thing is you don't have very many plugs.
We got one right there.
We got a strip here and a strip
No,
there.
I think it has something to do with how far away it is from the other one. And
Yeah, well, it's still garbage there, so it doesn't hurt to try over there.
Oh boy.
Why would we put there?
All right.
That's probably just the same distance.
Is the subject of conversation restricted to one You can ask anything you want.
Ask anything you
Quiet
want.
stream traveler.
For example, how come every time we do this,
Wow,
there's a new problem?
Lee Bach, Sinking Springs, PA. That's near where I grew up. So, I'm from Lebanon, PA.
All right. You got
It really is laggy. If what I'm seeing on the iPad is indicative of what people are experiencing, why don't I just take everything that I just bought at Best Buy in the last 2 days back, except for your thing?
what all
Why
would
don't
that? What all would that?
That's the mesh net and the laptop that doesn't work.
I
why don't I just do
sincerely
that?
think we should have the mesh in over there. Like, there's literally no reason it should be there.
Can you just unplug it and plug it in?
Probably. Maybe it'll destroy everything, but
All
chances
right,
are,
all right,
even if it
we're-
changes in the slightest,
This is a search and destroy mission here. We're going to unplug what we thought would be better internet and then plug it in somewhere else. Okay,
monster spider. End your life.
man.
Yeah, I see the
Yeah, well,
I'm
just
gonna put it over on this end. No, I'm not. That's further away. Let me just
plug it into the wall and put it on the bench there.
on the bottom.
Yeah, just why not? Just try it.
Oh, this is like 17 years of dust.
Well,
There are bugs here who are like older than me.
yeah. What's the question? Expat ran and hi, Kevin. I might as well take some questions here while we're figuring this out. What are our best evidences for God in your view? I would say the alternatives. Again, I go back. That's a serious answer. I go back to the question
Okay,
of,
it's plugged in again. Maybe it'll be
All
fine.
right.
Who knows?
who knows. I go back to the, while I'm thinking of it, if we aren't streaming anymore, somebody tell us. I don't even know if we'd be able to see that.
No, I'd be able to see it.
All right, you'd be able to see it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a serious answer because you go back to fundamental questions like, what's the better explanation for why we have something as opposed to nothing?
Okay.
Okay, God's a better explanation than just matter spontaneously came into being
Dad.
out of nothing,
Dad.
and now we have everything. That just doesn't. That's incoherent. So the whole, all of the materialist Big Bang cosmologists seem to skip the part about, well, where'd the stuff come from that had to explode? Again, it's an effect that has no cause, which is just incoherent.
Dad,
So
mind if I
my answer to
quickly-
that is the alternative.
Dad.
Yeah.
Mind if I quickly say this?
Why?
People just now saying that it just got much better. Michelle Baker, who was originally having the lag, says just
Wow.
got much better. Xpot Ron
Mm-hmm.
said, "What's man?
What's your take on the Ashkenazi Jews?
Yeah, what's your take on the
Well,
Ashkenazi? I couldn't figure out how to pronounce it.
The question's too broad. I got to know what.
I mean, have
what
you met
you're
them? Are they
actually
good
angling for.
people?
I wouldn't know if I'd met one or not. Tried to ask this on the last show, Mike. Are the Jews who the Nazis killed in hell as no salvation in Jesus? Yeah, if you don't have Christ is the way of salvation, okay, and I'm not going to guess as to what it took for Jews who were victimized, what it took for them to turn away from Jesus, but the reality is how you die is, it's always going to be a tragedy in this particular instance, and I would say in most instances how people die other than just old age. But how you die is a completely separate question from, what you do with Christ or not. Now, part of this question is related to, again, I've answered this question before. Since I use the Old Testament as precedent for people who have never heard about Christ, which is a little unusual in the modern world, in the West anyway, which is what we're talking about. But we'll put that on the table. For those who have never heard, the Old Testament, people before Christ and outside of Israel, when they responded correctly, in other words, positively, the way God would want them to respond to earlier revelation, God honored that. And so that's up to God. I mean, God knows each individual. If you had Jews that were killed in Nazis or by Nazis who were Christ rejectors, well, then they're Christ rejectors. Has nothing to do with the way they die. If you have Jews that were killed by Nazis who affirmed, they had faith and they never heard of Jesus, then it's up to God to decide whether he's going to look at that person as he would look at a person, a person who expressed faith in the revelation they had in the Old Testament. That's outside my job description. It's above my pay grade. So, it's really up to God when it comes to that sort of thing.
Dad.
From a biblical perspective, are they true Jews of the Bible?
Dad, can I quickly get something out?
Yeah.
I've been trying to say for like literally 10 minutes. Not literally 10 minutes. That's an exaggeration. The second I got back on camera, which I assume is like the exact time in real time I would have plugged that thing back in, the stream got worse again. So the stream was good when that wasn't plugged in.
Well, how's that possible?
I don't know. I really don't know.
All right, well, unplug it and see.
People are saying that like it's only not laggy when I'm gone, so I'm just gonna do an experiment and just like
unplug it, see what it does.
I freaking hate this thing.
We'll experiment with it.
This would be 1,000 times better in like a living room somewhere that wasn't in this giant stone room from like medieval times.
Yeah, we obviously can't move everything to the.
Like there's dust from the prehistoric era here. It's like a weird drawing of a robot in paint on the wall.
Yeah,
and we didn't do that. Like I look at that, I see a robot.
I see a robot too. So.
Like we have petrified spiders who are older than you in here, but internet. It's.
Yeah, let's just see how it goes.
Yeah. I feel like all these streams, we just see how it goes. It turns out awful, but people tolerate it anyway. But like, I want it to be like legitimately good. I think the next one we do should not be in this room. Mm-hmm. We should just do like a lighter setup.
Yeah, I don't know how Mom's gonna feel about that.
Okay, you know what? We could use the Blue Yeti mic I got to record both of our videos because the Blue Yeti mic has like a interview cam style where it's like it records from the front and the back. We could be sitting opposite to each other like this using a Blue Yeti, right? On like the kitchen table or something.
I don't know what the audio has to do with any of this.
Well, what I'm saying is that we could just rig up a really simple setup next time. We won't have to dismantle this whole thing.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Back to the question, the Ashkenazi Jewish thing. I mean, people can look up a definition of what the Ashkenazis are. It has broadly, it's going to refer to European Jews. If you go back in history, this is going to be part of the old, Holy Roman Empire, a community that, wound up, in antiquity, the answer is going to be that they're descended from Jews. They're physical, biological Jews in late antiquity. So they wind up settling in what becomes the Holy Roman Empire, or let's just call it Europe. And then the question is, are they real Jews today? Well, I don't really think it matters where you come from, because frankly, nobody can prove biologically they're a Jew that goes back to a biblical Jew today anyway. I mean, how would you possibly do that? How could you possibly genetically establish that? So on that level, I got to be honest with you, I don't really even know why the question's important, because let's say they're a faithful Jew and they're making this biological claim, and then 10 years from now, every Jew in the world who says they're a Jew has to go through a biological test, and somehow this person fails. Well, are they not a Jew? I think it creates too much of a distinction between people who would worship, and people who are this ethnic category. Frankly, how would we know? I mean, honestly, how would we know what the ethnic category is? I just don't know any way to know that, because you'd have to have genetic. I mean, I guess we could get genetic data from maybe a 6th, 5th century BC skeleton that was a Jewish person, and we could determine that. And again, I don't think God cares. Let's just put it that way.
I'm gonna quickly try something to fix this. I'm gonna do the thing I did for.
I mean, they might care, deeply about what's going on there, but I really don't think God cares too much.
I'm manually lowering the quality to see if that makes the video output a bit better.
Yeah, are you familiar with Benjamin Summers' The Bodies of God in Ancient Israel? If you have, what's your take on it? It's really a good book. I think it's an important book too, because. Summers very blunt in the book, saying things like the Christian concept of a Trinity is perfectly compatible with the Hebrew Bible. I would agree. And his book's important for establishing things like deities could be the deity they were, but also, that deity could be another person in effect, another, I don't know what the right word would be, character, or he goes back into Akkadian, Assyrian stuff, the Hebrew Bible stuff, to talk about how deities could be more than one person simultaneously in different places. And so he refers to these as bodies of God. And so his point is that the conception of Godhead, where you have, in the case of Christianity, God in three persons, the three persons are co-equal and they exist at the same time in different places or whatever, that idea is not unique or new to Christianity. You can actually find the idea in much older material. And again, so he's very friendly to the compatibility of a fundamental point of Christian theology like Trinitarianism with the Hebrew Bible. And Summer is not a marginal Jew. Okay, he is teaching at the Jewish Theological Seminary, Jewish studies. I mean, he's not a pretender. So, I think it's really a valuable book for that reason. Weren't all the records of priestly lineage destroyed by Herod? I don't know. My field is not Jewish genealogy in the first century. I would have no idea. I would guess that over the course of time they lost all that. We're getting differences of opinion on the lag. So
My laptop won't even boot up.
That's not network stuff. That's
No, it won't.
wow, that's kind of strange. Wow. Cliff asked, "Is Siegel's book still your go-to?" Well, for the two powers in heaven, yes. That's the seminal study, the Siegel's 1977 book. Jason says the stream is good now. Kevin says quality looks good on mic, pretty smooth. What about both of us?
What about
chime
Maury?
in.
Because the camera's on Maury right now.
Well, I guess
How's the pug look? Can we get some opinions on the pug?
Thing is, when you
We
set
just have to
this
have
up-
both streams going here. Let's see here. There was another question here that Israel has instituted genetic testing to qualify or disqualify Jews for the right of return. Well, good luck with that. I mean, good luck. What's their baseline genetic test? I mean, that they can do what they want, but it's just kind of a silly pursuit. Without baseline testing, without a genetic profile, what are they going to do? So again, politically, they can do what they want. I for one would say, gosh, I'm glad that my standing before God doesn't hinge on my genome, okay, on my DNA profile. Again, I think practices like that and pursuits like that just show the deep flaws in a modern Judaism that is entirely not only works oriented, but now it's DNA oriented. Again, I would say please go read your Hebrew Bible. Again, the Gentiles, the passages in Isaiah 66 about the Gentiles worshiping the Lord and even becoming priests and things like that. Again, why are we worried about genetic profiles when your own Hebrew Bible says this is the destiny for the Gentile? Okay, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Dad, we're on green stream health right now. This is the best it's been in a while.
We're on what?
We're on green stream health, which means that it's good. I'm looking at it right now. It's almost like perfect in real time.
Okay.
Wow.
But it's probably been that way for like 30 seconds. Okay, maybe we just had to recalibrate that.
Yeah,
Seems to be
it's
better.
on now. It's on now.
All right.
Like, look, I don't have to whine and complain about it anymore.
So mom saved the day here.
Do. I'm the
Okay.
techie around here.
Separated, said
Okay, that is
stream's
true.
great
I'm
now.
going to look right in the camera and say that is true.
That is, wait,
My wife is the gadget person here. She's the tech person.
unintentionally she is. Like,
So, okay, the pug looks bored to death. Vincent, that is the way the pug always looks.
our pug has...
Okay, look close. Turn the camera on Maury.
Okay,
We're gonna go
no
through.
cutting?
We're gonna go through Maury's range of emotions.
Okay,
here.
you know what? Let me get a really good cinematic camera angle here, okay?
How come the head just doesn't pivot?
Look at him.
Okay. All right. This is Maury's. This is Maury's happy face.
Yeah.
Okay. Now wait a few seconds. That is now Maury's sad face.
Okay, seems like-
Maury, give us a terror-stricken face.
You got
There
that
you-
angle.
There
as
you
well.
go. That's his terror-stricken face. And now his pondering equations face.
He's staring at the light. That's what face he's making. He's trying to burn his
He's-
irises out.
He wants to move toward the light, right?
He's like, take me away.
Maury's expression literally doesn't change.
Maury,
Now,
there's so many layers to his face.
well, but the only time I've ever seen it different
that's way too much to the
is
side.
when it's really hot out, and Maury will go out and run around, and then the tongue will come out a little bit. Oh, he's moving.
Oh,
Okay.
we got activity on the pug cam.
Look at
Red
that,
alert!
he's sitting
Red
straight
alert!
up.
Red alert!
Come on, you're gonna miss it.
Oh, he's
now
barking.
He's barking. Why don't you just pivot the head? Is there something wrong with the camera now?
This again the way.
Well, there's something wrong with everything, so why not this? Okay.
See that shot?
Great. Well, he's
Look
something
back,
got
He looks like an angel from God.
something. No, I don't think so. Something got his attention. I wonder what it is. Is there anything crawling toward us?
No,
Okay.
not that I can tell. I think Maury just.
Oh, now we're getting laggy now. Got laggy when the door closed. When my wife left the room.
on my screen, it's still green. It's red
Oh,
all the time.
man.
So the fact that it's green right now is kind of a miracle to me.
As soon as he gets on, it goes down. Well, as soon as Maury gets on, or as soon as somebody else gets on.
As soon as I come back, it'll go down.
Yeah. Boy. Well, I don't know how to.
We should have
Yeah.
Carmen in a stream.
Yeah, my soul on fire says moms always save the day. Yeah, they do.
This is awful.
Well, Maury is still sitting upright. That won't last too long in our experience, but
The folds weigh him down too much to be
Yeah.
sitting upright consistently.
folds of wisdom.
Yeah.
You almost made me spill Mountain Dew on my keyboard.
Why? How'd that
Anu,
happen?
Anki, Enlil. Okay, they're Sumerian deities. What? Is there a question there? I mean, what? They're Sumerian deities.
On my screen, it's not laggy anymore.
Are all the nations under the dominion of the Watchers, or only the nations listed in Genesis 10? Well, Watchers is kind of an odd term for them. I mean, that's an Enochian term for the Genesis 6 offenders. You don't have that term used in Daniel 10. There, it's just the prince of the host and whatnot. The only time you get the watcher term used in the Bible is Daniel 4, and there they're not associated with the nations. They're more or less traditional messengers. So I think we have a bit of conflation in terms there. So I'll answer it this way. I would say the idea, again, the theological idea of Deuteronomy 32, the Deuteronomy 32 worldview, is that yes, all nations are under dominion of some of supernatural powers other than Yahweh. That was just the way it is. And so the kingdom of God, which is designed to overspread the globe, is designed to displace that rule, that authority. So again, I think God knew the world was bigger than Genesis 10, and I think the idea is consistent to go with the world God knows, because the Great Commission again is cast that way. And we also have, the idea of the atonement and redemption. The whole world, again, at some point, being reconciled to God. And I realize reconciliation can be different things there. We just did Hebrews 2 today, and on the podcast, and reconciliation, like in Colossians 1:20, doesn't really mean forgiveness of sins there, but it means something else. But you get they're pre-Sumerian. Okay, Expat says they're pre-Sumerian. Upon what text is that based? Because Sumerian is text. It's not prehistoric. So if it's pre-Sumerian, they'd be prehistoric. And so my question would be, how do you know that the deities are pre-Sumerian when we don't have any text for that? I mean, I guess you could suppose that. Why not? But, why are all the nations keeping secrets about Antarctica? Again, where's the evidence for that?
Flat Earth.
Yeah. No, it's secrets about
Did
Antarctica.
you know that the Earth is actually on the back of like a turtle, right? And then that turtle's on the back of a slightly larger turtle, and it's just like a
Look,
never-ending chain.
This is a good time. Look,
I believe that the Earth is a flying saucer.
These deities are pre-Sumerian. Okay, this is a good opportunity to say primary texts are important. If you're going to say anything about any deity, you need primary texts. In other words, text produced by the people who worship these deities saying things about those deities. By definition, something pre-Sumerian is going to be prehistoric, because Sumerian in that region is the oldest language. So I don't know where you're getting the data from if we don't have texts, is the point. But again, I think the larger issue here is, I don't want to bring up any specifics, at any Unseen Realm events, but I often run into people who will, I saw this on YouTube, I heard so-and-so say it, I read it in a book. You should always ask, where is the primary text data? Okay, don't go to a writer. I don't care what Zechariah Sitchin or anybody else says. I want the primary text because I value what the people who lived way back when in these places wrote. I value that more than somebody who's living in the 20th century. I mean, to me, that just makes sense.
I think they think I'm Simi, because when I said that, they were like,
yeah,
Simi.
they're not Simca. Simca can be both a male and female name, but our Simca is female.
My name is
Simi,
Calvin.
Maybe she was watching. Maybe Angel was watching a little earlier because she might have heard Simi's voice.
Yeah, maybe she's not up to live. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this is a recent comment. No, my name is Calvin Heiser. Dad's one and only son.
Oh, here's a
other
good
than
question.
Maury.
What's your take on the Revelation 12 sign? Lots of people may lose faith if nothing happens. Boy, you could have a point there. If you're biblically illiterate enough to presume that the world is going to end on September 23rd because of Revelation 12, then you might be in a situation where you're putting all of your belief eggs in a very poor basket. And so you're right. I mean, you lose their faith over, and that's usually what people usually lose their faith for one of two reasons. Either personal pain inflicted upon them, through the circumstances of life, or maybe another Christian, or just dumb stuff this. I mean, the first category I find pretty understandable, even though I don't think that it's being processed well. But the second is it's just painful. It's just ridiculous. Nothing is going to happen here. Mike's going to have a prophetic moment here.
Okay,
so
go for it.
You can send your money to MIQLAT, because Mike is going to have this is my prophetic moment here. So I'll play televangelist or end times evangelist here. Nothing is going to happen on September 23rd. Now you might ask, well, how can you be so sure, Mike? Aha, good question. We're actually going to do a podcast, the next podcast episode, on the 22nd. Date is deliberately chosen. Okay, so we're going to do a podcast on why the world isn't going to end September 23rd, a day early, and then it'll post, the day after, and so people can listen to it. But there are good reasons why nothing, again, is going to happen. On September 23rd. So that's my opinion of it. It's quite misguided, and you'll find out the specifics on the podcast. So that's kind of a good, impetus, or maybe a good motivation to go listen to the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
We're getting some
lag, but on my screen it just got back up to green, so we should be good.
Yeah,
so,
Simi just commented.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So it turns out they were asking about Simi because Simi commented earlier.
Right.
She was asked. Okay.
I get it.
This is a question for you. It's very important.
Here's a good question. Why am I holding my iPad instead of propping it up? Go ahead.
Who do you love more? Wait, what was your question? What was your question? It was, who do you love more? It was either me or Simi, or Maury or Simi. Okay, Dad, you got to answer now. Let me find her.
Question?
I got find. Did it get deleted or something? I had it ready.
Well, I can only hope so.
Okay. Here it is. Who do you love more, Simi or Maury?
Oh, I love Simi more, of course.
Also, we got some flat Earth stuff going on here.
We should cover Maury's ears for some of these.
Yeah, probably.
He might be too sensitive.
Too young. So we got here. We got some stuff. We got some flat Earth stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to waste my time on flat Earth stuff.
Did you know?
No one should waste their time.
Did you know that the Earth not only is flat, but it's not a flat disc, right? It's a flat. It's actually a flat square, right? And when you hit one of the corners of it, you'll be warped to the other end.
Right.
Real life is actually Minecraft.
Yeah, I'm trying
where
to
everything's
adjust my
flat.
mic here. So.
Did you know that NASA's just
Oh, Simi asked who you love more.
yeah. Simi asked that, and you gotta okay.
Yeah.
You good, Simi? Man, this flat Earth stuff.
Yeah, the expat is asking the Epic of Gilgamesh. Okay, the Epic of Gilgamesh, drumroll please, exists. It's a piece of literature that exists in various versions from Sumer all the way into the later Babylonian period. Wow. Again, people think that because these things exist like that means something. It means people wrote. It means literate people wrote things, okay? It's the Epic of Gilgamesh. And it's good stuff. It's interesting. It's fun. Let's see here. Yeah, Vincent says, is Colossians loaded with unseen worldview compared to Hebrews? Well, you need to listen to the episode we recorded today, Vincent, because we actually did in Hebrews 2, we actually got into Colossians quite a bit because it took us into the question of can angels be redeemed? And again, I wanted to... I read a few excerpts from the book I'm working on, the book on angels that I'm supposed to turn in 2 weeks to Lexham. So I read some excerpts there, and I'm still on schedule to actually do that. Let's see here. Yeah, when I first attempted to read the Bible at age 10, I first interpreted the eating of the fruit in Eden as a sexual reference. So you were thinking of sexual references when you were 10. Well, gosh, that's a shame. It seemed that sex with the serpent was what was being described. Again, that's about as far away from a coherent reading that you can get. But again, you were 10, so something you thought at 10, which I find remarkable that you were thinking of sexual stuff at 10, but something that you thought at 10 you might want to think a little bit better as an adult. And get some. I mean, I'm trying to be serious here, but get some better source material on Genesis 3.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, let's see here. There's a lot of things coming here. I got to keep moving this. Okay, Michelle had a question for Cliff. Oh, I would really like to know how Hibane 13, am I pronouncing that correctly? I mean, I'd really like to know how that is pronounced, honestly. So if you can give us a phonetic rendering of that.
Is he actually talking here? Because I don't see him on the live feed.
No, it's at 7:45. Well, most of them are 7:45 mark.
Yeah.
Why would Christ's birth trigger a war in heaven? Is there a context as to why it happened? Again, the language there is pointing to the fact that at the birth of the Messiah, who is the linchpin to the plan of salvation, Satan and the forces of evil tried to not make that happen. So why would it happen? Self-preservation. Again, even though they know or they didn't know, the exact mechanism for what was going on here, and they thought wrongly that the solution was to kill the Messiah. That's the short path to self-preservation. So I think it's kind of a, it's easier to understand if you put it in those terms. Thanks, Mike. I'm a joiner. A splitter instead of a joiner. Okay, that's good.
We got a short little question from Lee Hawkins Bach. Batch? No. Why did I say Batch? I'm not.
Bach. I mean, I think it's Bach.
There actually is a guy who's.
Have you ever considered trying out for
Yeah.
Jeopardy? No, not really. I'm actually not very good at trivia. Okay, now catch what I'm going to say here. I'm not really good at trivia. You know why?
Why?
Because I know things that matter that are not trivia.
I know tons of trivia. Dad, ask me any trivia question. Guaranteed I'll get it.
Oh, I'm sure.
No. Just ask me random things.
No, I know
something
you're.
about Star
I
Trek.
know
I don't
you're
know
good at
anything about
trivia.
Star Trek.
I don't know. Who was? I don't know. Who was Captain Picard's first officer?
Spaceman. Yeah.
So you're not very good. No, I would go on Jeopardy, and it would be on the day where the categories are things like rock music, or pop music, or like something in the 80s or 90s. I mean, I've like completely lost track. It was like the 80s and the 90s didn't even happen, because in the 80s, I was at a Bible college that basically wouldn't let you watch TV. So I'm totally disconnected from pop culture there. And then in the
That would explain a
in the
lot.
90s, I was working 3 jobs and going to grad school. So like I don't know what happened in the 80s and 90s. You know, that's just the way it would go. General Han Solo, hey, how are you doing? I see you.
Wait, Dad, I changed my answer. My answer is now General Han Solo. That's Picard's first
No,
captain.
no, that's
It's-
not
it's
the
Han-
correct answer.
No, it's Maury. There we go. It's Maury. Beam me up, Scotty. To which he
Yeah.
just
Yep,
it's just
and thank
Maury.
you, General. You know, Captain Solo. It's General Solo now.
He's our general now.
Yeah. Well, Maury's basically unconscious.
Do you think Maury could
so-
win a war just with his wit and
Okay.
cunning alone? Do you think Maury has it in him to save us all?
I missed the question.
It
I was so
I
engrossed
was-
in watching the chat stream move when I didn't have to use my finger. That
I was doing a dumb joke about Maury. I basically said, "Do you think Maury, if he was a general, he could win a war?" and I was expecting you to just brush it off.
I think
which is just gonna be a dumb
think
comment.
masses of humanity would wait for Maury's order, and would defend him to the death.
What kind of orders would Maury give?
He'd lift up his head and yawn.
he
That means protect me and feed me. Now get going.
he'd do his little like howl like or whatever it is. That's like can you imagine like a bunch of like people like charge down a battlefield with like AKs and stuff, doing like Maury's little howl.
Yep.
Oh, that'd be great. Maury
Yep,
is
General Solo. Yeah, Trey and I had a conversation today a little bit about you. So I hope you and Trey continue your conversation, and Trey will let me know what's going on or what we need to do there. So yeah, I was encouraged by it for sure.
Okay, so
I'm gonna go back here.
Dad, I see a question. I really want you to answer this because
All
it's
right.
such a strange question to
Okay,
me.
what's the
Like
question?
guaranteed, you've never heard this before, not once in your life.
Oh,
For
okay.
once, I can say that.
All right.
Could cloned bodies be fit habitation for demons? Have you ever heard that before?
Well, I would say if you clone a human,
Yeah,
I
like
think
clone the body.
I think you're gonna get a human.
Okay,
So yeah,
but like, what about the soul or whatever? Where's that going to go?
it's still going to have consciousness.
Okay.
You know, this, ultimately this question takes you into,
Could a cloned person go to heaven?
I think, sure, because that it's still a biological entity. It's like a person born the natural way.
Yeah, but like, no, I mean like, no, I'm saying cloned. Like,
Yeah.
some scientists, a bunch of white coats get together.
See,
they make a person.
I know what you're saying. This takes you into the where do we get the soul question.
Well, okay, my
And
favorite
there's,
quote.
and there's no clear biblical answer to it.
I think my favorite quote that it was in an audiobook we were listening. Do you know what I'm going to say?
No.
Okay, I just want to know if you remember. You were listening to an audiobook about like the soul and the brain and stuff like that a couple
Okay.
years ago.
All right.
And there was a line that I remember, and I love to use this as an analogy for things because I think it's a pretty good analogy. I believe the quote was something along the lines of, "The Olympics does not." So, let me think. Did you say the Olympic Games or something? It was basically talking about how an Olympic-sized pool is not the Olympics, but it's like a vessel where it can occur or exist. In the same way, the brain doesn't contain, the body or whatever doesn't
Right.
contain the soul, but isn't the soul, but it's like a vessel that can be filled with it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you have it really quickly. Again, you've got 3 views of the soul, and the soul is naturally related to consciousness. Okay, so theologians. Well, let's start with the theologian stuff, then we'll move to the neuroscience stuff. So theologians say, okay, we either get the consciousness, what we'll call, because we're talking about theologians here, the immaterial part of a person, either through procreation. In other words, the parents make the human, and that also has the soul. So the problem, of course, with that, or the conundrum is, well, how can a non-material thing arise from biology? Okay, how can they produce a soul, with procreation? Second view is, well, they don't produce a soul through procreation, but they produce the body, and God just sort of plops the soul in there. That's called creationism, not to be confused with creationism in terms of the first few days or the first chapter of Genesis. Okay. Third view is souls pre-exist. God made souls before he made anything else, or, I guess post his own heavenly family, the sons of God, all that stuff. And then human beings procreate, and God has arbitrarily, or not maybe arbitrarily, that's probably not a good word for God, but God assigns a soul to a body. So you got three basic views. Now, in modern discussion, the question revolves around consciousness. Is your consciousness, or what theologians would call the soul, is that your brain? In other words, are you your brain? And a lot of people like to say you are because they're materialists, atheist materialists.
It's definitely a big part of it.
Right. The brain is indispensable. So another part of it is, well, you're not your brain, but your brain is like a radio. Okay? Your brain makes consciousness discernible. Okay, you have to have a brain to make consciousness known. Just like if you have a radio on the tabletop and you turn it on, it's working fine, and you get radio stations, you get music. Well, those stations, that music, is not that box sitting on your desk or your table. But it is a way to detect, okay, the waves that go through the air invisibly, okay, that are the music and whatnot. And so there are a lot of people who think that's the better way to understand the relationship of the brain to consciousness. The brain makes the consciousness known. Now, one last question. If you cloned someone, to go full circle here.
Yeah.
If you cloned someone and they had a brain, there's no reason to suspect they wouldn't have consciousness. So that's not going to answer the question of consciousness or the soul, but they would still possess whatever that is.
Yeah.
So they would be a full human being, again, with a working brain. And back to the question on possession, I don't see any reason why they would be immune to demonic activity.
I just want to point out that my phone was on silent, right? 27 minutes ago, I got this text from an unknown number that just says, when you get on the stream, it stops. When it's just Mike, it's fine. No clue what this number is. It's a 925. No clue who it is, but I just got a text from
all right. Well, I hope the stream isn't stopping now that we're both on.
Yeah, I hope it's not stopping now that we got the Think Bear sub. It's been on green consistently.
Okay.
We got some good stuff.
I just heard Pastor Jimmy Evans, whoever that is, from Trinity Fellowship Amarillo. Trinity Fellowship Amarillo. Is that somebody? No, that's nobody I know. Says that astral signs from Revelation 12 are supposed to happen again on September 23rd. Some of them are. I mean, Revelation 12 actually only gives you, I think, 3 signs. So their reoccurrence, if you just limit things to what Revelation 12 says. Okay, Virgo, 12 stars around her head, sun in her midst, moon at her feet. Okay, the dragon, if that's on the ecliptic or off the ecliptic, whatever. So you got, 3-4 signs there. Those recur a lot. The problem is if you're going with the September 11th, 3 BC birth date for Jesus, there's a lot else going on in the sky, in the heavens, that is not described in Revelation 12. So if you're just going with Revelation 12, yeah, sure. They have repeated a number of times before. So that's one of the deep flaws with assigning, validity, to this prophetic idea. Here's an even bigger one. Can you give me the verse? In the Bible where it says that the second coming of Christ is going to be connected to a repetition of the signs of Revelation 12. Can you give me that verse? The short answer is, let me do it for you. No, you can't. Okay, so the whole premise is deeply flawed. How about another one? Well, can you give me the verse where the sign of the Son of Man from Matthew 24 or Mark 13, I believe it is, where that sign of the Son of Man is connected to Revelation 12. Can you give me that verse? Same answer. No, you can't. So this is a little bit of preview of what we're going to do on the podcast next week. I have complete confidence, again, biblically speaking, there is no reason to suspect that September 23rd is going to mean a blasted thing.
Why do people believe it to begin with?
Because
is it like some dumb Mayan calendar thing?
No, well, it is kind of like the dumb Mayan calendar thing. It's not now. It's just a dumb.
It's just like people leap into conclusions.
It's a dumb Christian prophecy thing.
Oh, okay.
So it comes from. It comes from this is probably the most charitable thing I can say, biblical illiteracy. I mean, how can you miss those two things I just said? There are no verses that tell you to look for this. There are no verses that connect the sign of the Son of Man with Revelation 12. How can you miss that? If you're really paying attention to Scripture, I would suggest to you that you can't miss that. And that takes us to the second explanation of the second problem. It's not biblical illiteracy. It's hubris. That is, well, I'm just going to assume, and I'm going to tell people that I'm seeing something in the Bible that ain't there, but I'm going to pretend it is there. I'm going to make people think it is there because I want them to think that I got real insight into the Bible. You know, it's just a shame. It's just a shame.
Yeah. Hey,
are you guys Ching Wu Wang? I have no idea what that even means.
No, we are not. I'm just
okay.
gonna say safe assumption. Dad, can I ask the chat thing
Go
real
ahead.
quick?
Yep.
Chat. I asked this to Dad earlier as a joke, but like, would any of you be interested in watching a live stream that's just us talking about Pugs?
Oh, I can't believe you.
Or just me and Maury both talking about Pugs. How would that go over?
You know, anyone who really wants to see that should be blocked. We should just block them.
We just get everyone who says yes, put them on a list, block them. No more streams for you. No more questions.
Let's see here.
I actually do have a serious question.
My soul on fire says, "Yeah, I'm home. I made it." But what were you doing before that? Driving.
She was driving somewhere.
Wow, that's a little scary.
Okay, Dad. Dad, you know what I do want to do? So U.S.
What? Spec Ops recovered the body of Nimrod in Iraq. Oh yeah, of course they did. Of course they did. Yeah, it's either at Area 51 or in the tunnel under my house. So
don't tell about the tunnel, Dad.
I won't.
Stop.
Okay, I forgot. I'm not supposed to talk about the tunnel.
Okay.
All right.
Two things.
Sorry.
Rule number 1 of the tunnel: don't talk about the tunnel. Rule number 2: there is no rule.
The what?
Rule number 1 of the tunnel:
what?
don't talk about the tunnel.
Are you familiar with Delbert Burkett's work on the Son of Man in John? His PhD gave a powerful exegesis on John 8:17, where Jesus uses two men instead of two witnesses. I have not read that. I've read a review or two on Burkett's book, but no, I haven't read it, so I can't really get into that. Do you believe that souls pre-exist? I don't see any biblical evidence to support such. I actually don't see any biblical evidence for it either, but this is going to sound a little strange. I'm not willing to say that the view is off the table. That might sound strange. You know, why not take the view off the table if you don't see any biblical evidence for it? Well, here I'm going to give you a verse that is used to defend pre-existence. And it's going to have divine counsel implications. And let's see, in those of you who are listening, let's see if you can spot I won't say obvious, because you'd have to sort of really be tuned into divine counsel stuff to sort of detect what the problem is with this idea. I wonder if do I need to? Oh, I probably don't.
Oh my gosh, Dad, the journey Cliff Wilk.
I'm not gonna try to look it up, but I'm trying to remember exactly what passages. See, if I had my laptop here, which we were supposed to have tonight, and then the laptop died. That's 2 days old.
Yeah, it's so bad.
I'm trying to remember where. I think it's Job 15. Let me just take a quick stab at this. I can quote you the verse. I just don't know the reference off the top of my head.
Man.
All right, how would I find this?
Can I just point out that while we were talking about Dad?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I point out that while we were talking about the Pug live stream idea, this guy Cliff Wilson immediately says "sure" with 3 exclamation points, and 5 seconds later, oops. Yeah.
Yeah, he's toast.
Yeah, blocked.
All right, let me just see if I remembered this correctly. Oh yeah, look at that. I did get it right. It's Job 15. Job 15:8. Now listen to this verse carefully. Okay, of course, this is part of Job's miserable friends, trying to quote unquote comfort him, and of course they're sticking it to him in his pain. And let's go back to the first word, Eliphaz. Eliphaz says this to Job. Do you listen in on God's secret counsel? Do you limit wisdom to yourself? Now that is the Net Bible translation, okay? ESV renders it this way. Have you listened in the counsel of God? And do you limit wisdom to yourself? Okay, now there's the counsel part. Now let's go back to the previous verse. I'm going to read 7 and 8 in tandem now. I just wanted to read verse 8, alert you to the counsel idea. Okay, here's verse 7. Now think about what's being said here and see if you can pick out the flaw or the problem. Eliphaz says to Job, "Are you the first man who was born? Or were you brought forth before the hills? Have you listened in the counsel of God? And do you limit wisdom to yourself?" Now here's how some read this verse. Are you the first man who was born? And were you brought forth before the hills? Have you listened in the counsel of God? They would say that suggests that the first man, and here's the key thought, before he was born, listened in the counsel of God. That would imply that the first man, Adam, pre-existed his body. So the argument is that Adam, before he ever had a body, before he was ever put on earth, before he was ever created, like is described in Genesis, that he existed and he was in the divine counsel. And so the argument is extended from that this is what souls are. They are, disembodied entities, disembodied beings that God creates that are with him until they are embodied, essentially assigned to bodies. Now, I would be really impressed if someone, I'm not going to answer it here. I want to see if anybody comes up with the obvious sort of divine counsel problem with this. And you know what's really going to be a challenge here for me to find the stream again. Oh, you know what? I did it, Calvin. I actually think I learned something.
Oh, you learned something. What did you learn today?
I actually think I learned how to get back to the chat.
Can we?
I want to. Okay, I want
to.
I want to. Can we get a water rim shot?
No, a round of applause.
A round of applause.
Where did you get rim shot from that? There's not even an M.
I misheard you.
No, there isn't. Yeah, no, there's no M in that anywhere.
All right. Well, I'm actually gonna tilt my eye. Oh, look at that. That worked too.
Oh, that's actually convenient.
Wow. So I'm gonna wait and see if anyone comes up with that little bit of exegesis there to defend pre-existence. Somebody tell me what the problem is with that. Okay, let's see here.
Hey, Dad.
I don't really see it. Can the Bible be transliterated, I assume, as claimed by Scott and McQuaid? I don't understand the question. Of course you can transliterate the Bible. That's just looking at the text and putting them into English characters, English keyboard characters. Whoever Scott and McQuaid is, I'm sure he means something by that that's not coming through in the question. So if you could unpack that a little bit more, that would help. Let's see.
Hey, can I ask the stream another thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so people on the stream, this is an idea I haven't really talked about much with Dad, but this is kind of an announcement for you two. Could we sometime find a time to maybe pre-record something just for at the end of the stream we just play a short clip that we make in advance. It could be something with Maury or something like that.
No, I told you what I wanted you to pre-record with Maury. Do you remember that?
No, I actually don't.
Okay, I wanted more. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to give it away completely.
Is it the Maury's
little howl?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, okay. He's not going to do that for me. I mean, he did it on stream. We can just sample it later.
Yeah, I know, but that needs to be pre-recorded and used appropriately.
Yeah.
Okay, if you remember that.
Can we have it as like a soundboard thing? We can just activate whenever we want. That would be great. But I was actually, I just want to find an excuse to do this. I really want to record you playing a VR game for just like a 2-minute clip and play it at the end of the stream. Because I just got the Oculus Touch.
We'd probably get massive amounts of people to watch that.
Can we do a live stream that's just you trying to figure out how to play VR?
My Soul on Fire says, or Loon Etune 223 says, the problem is that it's not talking about pre-existence, it's eisegesis. Well, you need to do better than that. That's just saying I disagree with it. There's actually a problem here. There's something more substantive. My Soul on Fire. God doesn't trust even his holy ones. So all right, I don't know what that has to do with.
Oh no,
what
no.
we're doing.
She was answering the you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Kevin C also has an answer, and then he cited a verse.
The council was present during the creation of Adam. Let us make man in our image. Therefore, he could not be listening before existing. I think that's related, Kevin. So I think you're tracking there.
He also gives the verse, 1
Yeah.
Kings 22.
Yeah, a lying
22.
spirit in the mouth of his prophets. Again, that's a different issue. Let's go back to the other comment. That is the problem, because Eden itself is the meeting place of the council in Genesis. And so if we link Adam to the council, listening in the council, it could very well, Job 15, 7 and 8 could very well be a reference to Adam being in the garden. It doesn't have to be pre-existence. So I'm going to give Kevin points for that there was a link there, I think is where is really sort of the key to showing, what the problem with that pre-existence take is. 1 Kings 22:22, where the Spirit states he'll be a lying spirit in the mouth of the prophets, God says, sounds good. Is God condoning lying? This seems against his nature. God does at times condone deception, which is of course involved in that. When it goes like this: God can choose whatever means he wants to punish evil, and he does. God uses deception in a number of places. The battle when Joshua, again after the defeat at Ai, God gives Joshua the plan to have victory over Ai, which involves deception. Hey, you send some men over there and you pretend you're beaten, and then you draw them out of the city, and then you go in and surround. That's deception. Okay, the plan came from God. Why? Because they were punishing, going after God's enemies, the enemies of the Israelites. 1 Samuel 16. Okay, David is supposed to be anointed king. God says to Samuel, "Hey, go! I want you to go over to the town there, and I want you to anoint David." And Samuel's like, "Well, if I go there, Saul's men are going to hear about it and kill me." And so God says, "Look, take a heifer with you, and say, if they ask you, I've come to offer sacrifice." In other words, he only tells them half the story. This is God's idea. And so Saul's men will leave you alone. And Samuel does that. Okay, Samuel is asked the question. That's the answer he gives. Now later, he doesn't lie, because he actually does perform the sacrifice, but he does not tell them all of the information. God instructs him to withhold information from him. And again, this is a judgment on the house of Saul. So the short answer is God can use whatever means he wants to judge evil, and he does, to judge his enemies. And in the case of 1 Kings 22, that's exactly what he's doing with Ahab. There are other illustrations, but we're being quick about this. I used to love going through that in ethics class. I taught ethics class. There are actually exceptions to a lot of things. Let's take "thou shalt not commit adultery." In Old Testament law, there are places that presuppose that a man would have more than one wife. Okay, there are a couple laws like that.
Like Mormons or?
Right, it's like polygamy. Okay, so in the ancient Israelite culture, that polygamy was practiced. It's never really presented as anything good, but there are a couple Mosaic laws that presuppose it. One of them, you say, well, how's that an exception to adultery? Adultery in Old Testament law, according to Torah, is when a man who was married took another man's wife. In other words, a woman who was married to somebody else and had sexual relations with her. That was adultery.
Yeah.
Now, if he took a second woman who was not married to someone else, that is never called adultery. The rule for that is you have to marry her. It's because polygamy was permissible in Israelite culture. It's not something that the law endorses. It's something that the law assumes, but it's still there. So that wasn't defined as adultery. Here's the situation I used to always bring up in ethics class. The law of levirate marriage. And this is the law in the Old Testament where, let's say if my brother, I have a brother Brad in Virginia, let's say we were living in Old Testament Israel, and Brad dies, and his wife is now in economic hardship. I am obligated, according to Old Testament law, as the next of kin, to marry her so that she has financial support and safety. And it was a different culture. If she's on her own, she's basically either going to have to become a harlot or she's dead. I mean, it's not a good situation. So I was obligated to marry her. What if I'm already married? Again, I haven't committed adultery because she doesn't have a husband anymore, and I can add her to my family as a wife. And that's not only okay, according to Torah, that's what I should do. That's the moral thing to do to protect her, and also to keep my brother's property within the extended family. So there are a number of issues going on here that we can't be so categorical. We have to take a look at what the law says and really how it's applied. But there are quote unquote exceptions, to things, even in the Ten Commandments like this. And God's use of deception would be one. Again, if that's how he wants to go after evil, the lawgiver is allowed to make his own exceptions and punish evil the way he wants. What's the best way to learn Hebrew if you can't be at specific places at specific times? I'm not really even sure what that means. I don't know why learning Hebrew would have to be connected to a place. You can do lots of things online. If you're talking biblical Hebrew, you buy a grammar and you work through it. So I'm not sure what else that means. Thanks, Calvin. Thanks for catching.
Yeah, you're really behind the chat because I'm seeing things pretty real time.
I
Everything
really
that you're getting to, I see like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I do think that the church is transformed, in glorification into the reconstituted divine council. I talk about that in Unseen Realm. How a man can handle more than one wife is beyond my. Yeah, I agree with you. Polygamy is consistently, portrayed negatively, and folks, I hope you realize this. Again, that I'm hoping I'm dealing with a biblically literate, group here. I think I am, and that is, you have to realize that the Torah, the law, was, outside of moral laws that tend to be repeated in the New Testament and tend to be pre-Mosaic anyway. Okay, outside of clear moral principles, the law was planned obsolescence because the theocracy was planned obsolescence. God never intended his plan of salvation, his plan to restore Eden. He never intended that the terminus point for that would be the theocracy, the Mosaic period, the Israelite kingdom. Okay, because why? Why do we know that? Because Christ was the Lamb of God slain before the foundation of the world. You must have a resurrection to defeat the problem of death. That means you have to have a death. And the sacrificial death has to be an eternal person who can die, which is a paradox, isn't it? And that's why God had to become a man. None of that is connected to the theocracy. The theocracy was a placeholder. So Torah laws that are tied into Israelite culture, or that tolerate Israelite culture, or that presume Israelite culture, all of that was planned ahead of time by God to be obsolescent at some point. The Bible does not endorse a specific culture. The Bible didn't endorse patriarchal culture. The Bible doesn't endorse a culture that had polygamy in it. The Bible doesn't endorse culture. The Bible assumes a certain culture. Because why? Because those are the people that God picked to write the thing. They have a culture already. There's no such thing as a divinely ordained culture. Scripture transcends culture, but it presumes it because people wrote it. God chose people to write it. They have to have a culture by definition. And so there's a lot of stuff in Scripture like that is just presumed. It is that way because it just is. But even Israel, again, Yahweh's people, even Israel themselves, the theocracy, the Israelite culture, the Israelite way of life, Israel as an institution, was designed to be obsolescent at some point. So I hope we realize that. Let's see here.
How many viewers do we have? We're at 54.
Yeah, we're also at 20 after 8. So
We've been streaming for about an hour and 4 minutes.
A woman that would allow her hamster to have another wife as a nutbag. Yeah, that. I think that would be certainly true in our culture. In Israelite culture, women were often in desperate situations. They didn't own property, most of them anyway. The majority would not have had businesses. They have no means of supporting themselves. They are dependent on their husbands or their fathers or their sons. And so when you're in a situation like that and your husband dies, this is why that law exists. It is the compassionate thing to bring this woman into your family. Okay, she becomes another wife, so that she is not reduced to either hopeless poverty, prostitution, or she's just going to be endlessly victimized. You do this to save her. It is really, you do this to give her what's left, a good life, and again, protect the property that would have been her husband's. It at least is brought into the extended family, even though the property inheritance thing is still a male thing. It's still hers in the sense that she is part of the family, and it doesn't go to someone else, or it's not stolen. So, it was just quite a different culture. Women were extraordinarily vulnerable. And it's not like today, where women can, have an independent existence and take care of themselves. It was just a different world. Angel says, I read The Unseen Realm. I was asking to make sure that I'm understanding. Oh, I guess she's talking to somebody else. Sorry about that.
Hey, Dad, how much time we got left?
I'd say let's give it 5 minutes. So.
Okay, wait, hold on. Before we end the stream, can I show the view where it's us reacting to something in there?
Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
Let me just find something to put on the screen over there, actually. Because we got 2 monitors now. The one thing that we got recently that didn't break.
Yeah.
Oh boy, 2 monitors.
Yeah, the one thing we got that didn't break.
Yeah. The single thing. So you know what? We're just gonna put that over there. Let's look up Pugs.
Why don't we just wake Maury up?
No.
Oh no. Who put this container in there?
I
with
did.
Maury? Oh,
I did.
Yeah.
Whenever I finish a bottle of water, I just slightly toss it in there.
Well, this week Maury grabbed a crushed plastic milk carton.
Dad,
Okay,
how
had
come
a
your
wonderful time
default
with
is
it.
Google Drive? It's not Google Search, it's Google Drive Search. Can you disable that somehow?
I have no idea. Just put google.com.
Okay, but even when I was doing URLs, it took me to go. Okay, there we go. So, you know what we're gonna do? You know what we're gonna do, Dad? We're gonna get some Pugs. We're gonna get some Pugs. Bam. And now they're seeing me in the
Anybody
bottom
who
left.
follows me on Twitter knows that I follow emergency pugs.
Pug. There is no emergency when there's a pug.
I know.
You know what? We're gonna do? We're gonna look up.
I follow
Pugs.
another one. I can't remember what the title of it is.
Bam.
I used to follow Doug the Pug, but it's too political. It's irritating. But I miss Doug.
Is Doug the Pug for or against?
Oh, I don't know. I think Doug the Pug's owners are sort of
see
on
this?
the left.
Oh man, this is my type of pug. No, this is my type of pug. Oh, that's my type of pug.
Okay, I think they get the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can do this now.
Yeah.
Look at those.
Oh, I
pugs.
saw that one this week. The one with the big eyes.
They all
Right
have big
there.
eyes.
Well, no, that one right there.
Enlarge
yeah.
it. Enlarge it.
Yeah.
Let's
That's a
look at
pretty
this.
pathetic.
Oh wow,
pug
look at
right
that.
there.
Oh boy.
I wonder if that's Photoshopped, to be honest.
I don't know. Is this photoshopped or is that just a costume? That's probably photoshopped.
That is a costume.
Okay.
Or, I don't know.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay. That's all right.
Anyway, this
Yeah,
is
we're
to show
just
that we can
getting
do this.
we're getting too distracted. with pugs.
So many
Okay.
pugs. There's too many.
Yeah, I'm reading my soul and fire comments. Yeah. Thankfully, you don't have to live like that anymore. I mean, Western culture actually did some good things, and that would be one of them. He just says, "Hi, Stephanie. Google Drive is a pain." Yeah, well. Pug City, she says.
Yes, Cliff. We do want a pug army. There's
Yes.
a pug army coming.
No, well, he's getting that from my Twitter feed because there was that picture with 10 pugs.
Oh,
And
Dad.
it said, "I want a pug army," and I replied to that. Oh, yes, I do.
Dad. Did I ever show you? It's like this guy who opens up a door, right? And this stream of 20 pugs just all come pouring out and surround him. It's like this guy just breeds pugs, I guess.
That's what I want right there.
People are comparing me to Jason Bourne. What the heck is a griff? Someone says I have a griff. They're half.
Jason asks about replacing the divine council. Who will we be ruling over if all believers reign? Well, the answer that Paul would give is we're ruling over angels. So apparently they serve us, but the sons of God, middle tier council hierarchy label, again, is about administering the earth. So I think even within that tier, there's going to be hierarchical relationships. All of us, I think, are going to be, are going to outrank, angels, as Paul says. But I think we're going to, again, collectively, we're still going to have to relate to each other as imagers. I think it's a good way to think about the fact that hierarchy does not mean, I'm going to make up a word here, but lesserness. We all have the same status before God, our position in the hierarchy. I mean, we live in a culture, speaking of cultures, we live in a culture right now that sort of looks at hierarchy as though it's some kind of evil, sinister thing.
Antifa?
Right. They look at anything that's not them as an evil, sinister thing. But I mean, it gets tied into gender and all those sorts of things, and that's because of past abuses and whatnot. But hierarchy itself is a good thing.
It's like order or whatever.
Again, even the Trinity had hierarchical relationships, even though they were all the same in essence. Hierarchy is not a sinister, evil thing. It's just in a fallen world. Again, it's a good gift of God that gets abused once again. So, that's the story of humanity essentially. Oh, let's see. I joined Twitter just for you, Mike. Laugh out. Also for the free material from Log. Oh, there's somebody here that took advantage of that. Good. Oh, Mike, by the way, this is Makissa01. I watched White and Nerdy. Oh my, yeah. Yeah, that is the one music video that I have seen.
Weird Al is incredible, right?
He's like I said, my favorite song is the eBay song.
Weird Al is
so clever.
Weird Al is the rare brand of parody that is also just good standalone. Like the only other thing I can think of that I'd even put near his level of simultaneously being parody and like genuinely good, One Punch Man. You have to see it, Dad.
I haven't seen that.
One Punch Man is one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. It's but like it's actually really good in its own right. It started as like a web comic this dude made, like Dilbert.
Yeah.
And like now it's like its own show. Season 2 is coming to Netflix at some point, season 2 is being made at some point.
So there's a show on Netflix called One Punch Man.
Yes. It's an anime made by this Japanese guy. I don't watch much anime.
Okay.
I don't like. Well, it's not that I don't like it. It's just I don't watch
and
much.
It's supposed to be funny, right?
Yeah. It's like a parody of the superhero genre because in the show, there's superheroes everywhere.
That makes it worth watching.
Yeah. Like they've. You know how like old timey Marvel comics, all these useless superheroes and villains, like it's like that in the show. Like there's this guy whose Japanese name translates to like Moomen Rider, and he's just like this dude on a bicycle who like tries to fight supervillains, but he just gets the tar beaten out of him every time. You got like. It's just great. It's great. It's a great show. I don't want to spoil anything.
General Han Solo has a question. Mike, any more details on Adam as Israel, like in Seth Postel's work in Psalm 66, 5 and 6? No, email me that. I mean, that might be worth I don't know if it's worth a podcast episode or not. And here's why I say that. Now, next May, I'm one of the talking heads on this Israel trip. Again, that's been posted on my website for months now. And I'm going to try, when we're over there, Trey is making the trip as well. And we're going to do some Naked Bible podcasting from Israel. And Seth is one of the guys I want to try to have on. So I'm hoping, we're within a reasonable distance of where he lives. But if we get him to do that, we'll make sure that we talk about Adam as Israel. Because I would like to have Seth on. I'll see him in November, hopefully. At the academic conferences and try to sort of prep him for that. But I'd like to get him. I'd like to get Steve Fawn. Some of you might remember Steve. He was the guy who showed me the transcription of the angel scroll years ago that never panned out, never turned into anything. Steve also was an important figure in the Jesus tomb, the Talpiot tomb thing. He did some critiques of the epigraphy there. But Steve lives over there, so I'm hoping to get Steve and Seth Postel, and we'll do at least two of those. But those are the two guys on my wish list anyway for when we're actually over there in May. Oh, let's see. Cliff said he means Shatner.
Shatner
blocked me on Twitter, so I'm no longer a Star Trek fan. What did you do to get blocked by Shatner? How would he pick you out of the millions of people that follow him?
Is Shatner like George Takei when he's like super like annoying on social media?
I don't know.
Blocks people that he doesn't agree with.
I don't follow him.
George Takei. I mean, you're great on Star Trek, but ooh boy.
Brilliant Kirk or Picard. Pop.
I think it's from White and Nerdy. Wait, no, is that from White and Nerdy? It's like I think it was like
don't know.
the only question I ever thought was hard was, do I like Kirk or do I like Picard? Spend every weekend at the Renaissance Fair. Got my name on my underwear.
All right, this is like disturbing that you know so much of that.
You see me mowing the front lawn.
Yeah, I know. I basically know the eBay song, so I guess I can't, talk too much. Okay, we're gonna wrap up. It is 8:30. This has been a lot longer than an hour, but we
I
sort of got
kind
carried
of like
away.
the longer ones, honestly.
I mean, Maury just gave us extra energy. We've essentially sucked all the energy out of Maury. Show Maury quickly.
Is that why he's always tired?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe we he just gives us his energy.
Yeah, standard shot or drone shot.
Drone shot.
We got a drone. Look, it's Maury. Oh.
Well, I don't see it on either screen.
No, I extended that one.
Of course, I haven't seen anything on my screen for the whole time we've been here. So.
Yeah, but let me quickly switch displays so you can see the glory that is Maury. The only question I ever thought was hard was, do I like Kirk or do I like Picard? I know it's kind of a joke, right?
Can they see Maury? That's all I care about before we end. Can they see Maury?
Okay, so now you'll be able to see what they see. We gotta get one last great. You know what? Let's bless them with the just Maury angle.
Oh, man.
This has been MIQLAT stream number 3. This is our pug. Dad, come on, go pet him.
Oh, boy.
Pet Maury. Oh, look at that.
Look, we didn't even wake him up.
Maury's just out cold.
He is breathing, right? Okay, I just saw him move. He's breathing.
Yeah, he moved a bit.
Okay, he's not that old, but we still ask that question, like, is Maury breathing? So.
Maury.
All right, last thing here.
Great.
Aliens, Demons documentary was great. You also did a podcast from Roswell. Who was that man? That was Jack Brewer, and we put that on the Paranormal podcast. By the way, we're going to be doing another Paranormal podcast next week. I think it's Wednesday next week. The topic is going to be Bigfoot DNA. So that was Jack Brewer. I recommend his book. The Greys Have Been Framed. It's pretty good. It's self-published, but it's good. It's got a lot of good information in it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for tolerating my flat Earth jokes.
Yeah, well, we hope the stream worked.
Oh,
in the end.
I think we're better.
Again, if Mom made her too many energy drinks that's a good idea.
Energy drinks from Maury, we just get some Red
what
Bull.
Would happen if
in a syringe?
if even in his water, if we put just maybe a teaspoon in there.
Teaspoon of Red.
I don't.
Was that considered animal
Okay,
abuse?
we're not going to do that.
Okay, yeah, obviously we're not going to.
But I'm intrigued.
Dad,
but I'm
can
not
we do that?
intrigued enough to actually do it. So
Dad,
we like him the way he is.
Dad, let's say replaces water, right? Replaces water with Monster Energy. Let him drink it. See how excited he gets.
He
running all over the walls.
That might harm him.
Nah, we can't do that.
He may have a heart attack or something.
We can't do that.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks for listening, watching.
Oh, wait. One more thing. Am I still on fire? She says that she drinks the brand of water that Maury has. We're not sponsored by it, but
that's right.
Yeah, another person who drinks Essentia.
Oh boy.
Unless she's talking about the Gatorade bottle.
She drinks it because Maury drinks it.
Unless she's referring to the Gatorade bottle, in which case that's not water. Go see a doctor.
Yes. My Soul on Fire. The Greys Have Been Framed is the title of the book. You can get it on Amazon. So
yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Should I end it now?
Yeah.
What's the best way to end the stream?
Goodbye. Cut it off. I don't know.
Goodbye. I was just gonna let us fade into uncomfortable silence.
No, we ought to have some out.